Do you ever feel like a plastic bag drifting through the wind, wanting to start again? Well, maybe you're a software developer, experiencing the radical shifts present in the job market. Job market's always changing. It's governed by demand and labor and the hottest new trend that every company wants to have. Specifically, thinking about software developers or programmers, some questions arise about what trends exist in the last few years regarding employment levels, the skills in demand, and salary. There's a lot of noise, anxiety, and worry being spread around. One thing I've realized over the years is that people who last in the tech industry are the types that always learn, grow, experiment, and find joy in discovering new tools or technology. So our key question is, what should I learn next? This is a personal question that can't be universally answered with just a blanket statement like, you should learn Rust or React. Luckily, every year, tens of thousands of geeks answer the Stack Overflow developer survey, asking questions about the technology and tools they use, experience levels, salaries, employment status, and even happiness metrics. That's what we're going to be exploring today to help answer our question. So out of the 73,000 survey responses, there were a couple with some silly answers, like people claiming to have 50 years of development experience. And there was also a large portion of people who self-identified as not being developers. So after pruning the data, we were left with 68,000 good results. Looking at the distribution by gender, there were 12 times as many men as women that took the survey. There were more people under the age of 35 than over. And about 40% of the developers had less than 5 years of professional experience, with some reaching above 40 years. Most of the applicants listed between 10 to 20 technical skills of competency. And what's interesting to note is that there was no correlation between how many listed skills a person had and their salary. It's fun to look at the hundreds of outliers that would list 100 skills but still make around $30,000 yearly. There was actually a negative correlation among people who listed more than 50 skills and how much they made. So as you can see, the trend goes up. As you have more professional years of experience, your median salary increases. One thing to note is that this is a survey across the entire world, not just people in the United States. So let's take a look at the skills people listed. If you just straight up rank the most popular 100 skills and see what everyone else knows, you would think that everything at the beginning of the list is mandatory. That doesn't make you stand out. That just makes you yet another developer. Maybe if you're running a boot camp, those are what you could focus on. But what if you already are competent at a few of these and want to know what the next thing to learn is given what you already know? So to analyze the skills in demand, we're going to use a technique called association rule mining, which is extremely powerful for finding relationships between different events. The basic idea is we want to use the data set and extract basket data for the skills any one developer has. We can then use set theory and probability to actually quantify how likely certain skills imply knowing other skills. This can then form a sort of hierarchy of importance as well as a trajectory for what skills might be useful to branch out to gaining to be a better candidate for jobs. In plain English, think of the analogy of going to the grocery store. If you're going to buy avocados, there's a good chance you're also going to buy bread. Using the technique of association rule mining, we can use real transaction data to quantify how likely it is that someone will buy avocados. Someone buying avocados will also buy bread, which is different from the probability that buying bread implies buying avocados. So this table is a lot to take in, And let's just start with the idea of support. That's just the percentage of how many rows contain the elements on the left. So the first two rows include JavaScript and HTML, and that out of the 68,000 rows, 50% of them listed both. Next, confidence is analogous to the conditional probability. We're asking the question, what is the chance of knowing B given A? In the very first row, it's like asking, what's the chance of knowing HTML given already knowing JavaScript? And you can see that is a much higher number than the second row. What's the chance of knowing JavaScript given knowing HTML? Because HTML is a much more common skill than JavaScript. Finally, there's lift, which renormalizes based on the probability of the right-hand side. If the right part of the rule is more common, then this lowers the score for lift. Looking at a combination of confidence and lift tells you both how often the rule appears, and then also how much the skills are related or correlated. Higher confidence means the rule is well supported by the data set, so a minimum threshold of 20% was used. Higher lift means the data implies the right-hand side skill is more unique and less likely to appear due to just randomness in the samples. The first three rules listed had the highest support, meaning the skills involved on either the left or right side were extremely popular. The second set of three rules had the highest confidence, which means the highest implication of knowing that the left meant knowing the right. As you can see, all of these include JavaScript as the consequence because it was extremely prevalent in the dataset. The last three rules in the table were the ones with the highest lift, meaning the left skills and the right skills were highly correlated. Looking at these skills and rules, it isn't actually telling that much other than what I could already guess, that Node, React, JavaScript, and HTML are wildly popular. So now let's pre-filter our dataset and only look at people who have six-figure salaries. The rules mined from this subset are derived from the highest compensated developers and the skills they possess. This is getting to the heart of what additional skills are worth a lot without all the noise of the vast quantities of people who all know the same thing. In addition to filtering by salary, the rules shown on this slide were ones that were not previously highlighted, and the reversal wasn't shown as well. Looking at the high support rules, we see some pathways begin to form for really reasonable next steps based on what you already know. The first row sounds like someone learning DevOps. The second row sounds like someone getting advanced at fundamentals for front end. And the third row sounds like a back-end engineer. The highest confidence rules again show that if you know a lot of advanced skills in a topic, you should definitely learn the underlying language or technology. These high confidence rules hint at the advice that the newest tech or framework will come and go, but knowing the underlying skill that's in common will always benefit you. The highest lift rules seem to highlight learning more niche-related technologies. There were many rules involving Ruby to Ruby on Rails, so I just picked one for the table. There were also a large number of associated rules involving ASP.NET, Microsoft SQL Server, and C# in this category. So what can we conclude? Despite not being at the top of the most popular and used languages, when you look at the people who are well paid, C#, ASP.NET, and Microsoft SQL Server emerge as a good set of technologies to know, and Ruby on Rails also shows up frequently as well, despite only having 7% of the population knowing it. And even though the hype is always about the latest JavaScript framework, jQuery, which was super popular back in the days of Internet Explorer, is something that highly compensated developers still list knowing. Listing a tech like jQuery might indicate to an AI hiring bot that you've been in the field for a long time and have a lot of experience. Also, The truth of the matter is that most things that exist are legacy and need maintenance. So something that was hugely popular back in the day and is still probably being used in production, and something you can still get a high-paying job for because the supply of developers who know the old tech decreases as everyone chases the new shiny thing. So what should I learn next? I have a few key points. One is fundamentals. Learn the fundamentals. Learn JavaScript and TypeScript if you want to be good at React, Next, or Node. Learn Docker and AWS if you want to be good at a specific backend. 2, become the expert at a niche. Becoming a master of one trade will serve you better than trying to be just competent at everything. There's no I in team, and everyone works in teams. Learn to be good at your part. And don't just follow the herd. When you're getting started and getting your foot in the door, following the popular thing might serve you well. And it's kind of expected if you're in the software world that you're going to, at the minimum, know at least a few basic things. The trends come and go. The frameworks of today will be forgotten tomorrow. So to be relevant long term, learn the things that make you valuable and are actually being used. Not just the things that are new and not being used anywhere. 44% of the web still uses basic PHP and WordPress. Almost everything in the real world is legacy. This program was made possible by contributions to your data science community from viewers like you. Thank you.